Looking at the patch notes, this new update doesn't look like much, but I still got very excited about it. For a start, it's claimed to have fixed a case where a small number of users received an erroneous VAC ban. There are always people complaining about being unfairly VAC banned. Some of these are cheaters trying their luck, but others might be innocents, unfairly flagged by the anti-cheat systems, which could always be a possibility given the fuzzy nature of AI-powered systems. One such case that comes to mind recently is this, where FatGuyLol turns on the auto turn left console command, which he claims, when combined with the reports from other people and a good performance in the match, can trigger an immediate VAC ban.
I did it! I did it! We did it! We did it! We fucking did it! We did it! We did it! We fucking did it! We did it! We got fucking banned!
No fucking way!
Yeah!
Well, it's still game banned, so that's anticlimactic. Speaking of which, they've also added client icons to your local cache, meaning that your PC remembers lots of little images that might be displayed in-game, instead of having to load them in every time you view them. I thought this might present itself by the icons immediately showing as you scroll up or down your inventory, but there wasn't a change there either. So maybe it's for that new feature that was added in September, which lets you view the loadouts of other players from spectator view. If they took a while to load in before, or you encountered frame rate stuttering as you switched between players, then having these sorts of items cached might help alleviate your woes. Which gets us onto the final and most exciting disappointment of them all. They have improved shadow fidelity on view models. Yes! Finally! The update everybody needed but that nobody knew they wanted. See, when I went and did all those weapon showcase videos, it grated heavily on me that they were marred by the shadow quality, which was low in resolution and blocky, interfering with these otherwise very beautiful skin showcases and making them look decidedly 2005. CS2 brought about superior shadow quality, but still displayed them using the same sorts of technologies, and with the same limitations. There are two problems with using cascade shadow maps: their blocky resolution and the way in which the shadows transition between light and dark. The result of all this can cause that ugly shimmering banding effect that you can view from certain angles, like here. It's not too much of a problem when you're moving your mouse about quickly. In fact, it looks very nice. But with just minor adjustments to your mouse's position, the shadows quickly begin noticeably crawling. Valve, please fix. So I proudly present to you, before this update, and after. Oh no, nothing's changed. Well, not a lot. I think maybe in areas that are close to the thing casting the shadow, there's sometimes less banding and better shadow coverage. But I'm grasping here. I have to say I was bitterly disappointed not to see at least something that was noticeably better, especially given that these are 8K still comparison shots. I also did some videos comparing before and after, when in motion, and you can see that the resolution of the shadows seems to be the same, and that the weaknesses of rendering shadows in this way remain unchanged. The AWP still looks utterly hideous with its pixelated vibrating shadows, but remember this is a worst case scenario where motion is slow and contrast is high. Here's the M4A1, for whatever. Here it looks like there's a bit less banding on the stock of the weapon, right down at the bottom right hand corner of these comparisons. It's not a big change, is it? But it is there. Probably makes it one of the biggest updates this game has received this year, am I right? But this is all using very high settings. Let's see what happens if we set it down to just medium shadow quality. Oh, sorry, very medium. And it's the same story here, but with the problems being even more obvious because now the shadow map resolution is even lower. Fortunately, if this effect is a game ruiner for you, then there is a solution. You just set shadow quality to low, which disables shelf shadowing on weapons entirely. This does away with the dodgy shimmering, but does make the weapons appear oddly bright, which you might even prefer if you're trying to view the weapon skin itself. There's one other graphics option that affects the shadows on weapons, and that's ambient occlusion. I love this effect. You can see here the difference it makes when the shadows are off. It just darkens the areas which aren't receiving much light. Valve actually requested that skin artists don't add this effect to their skins. I assume because it would have doubled the effect up if the game is going to do it as well. And even if you do have shadows set to medium or higher, ambient occlusion still does its part, essentially doubling up the shadows. So if skin artists added it as well, it would be like triple darkening. But alas, this update doesn't seem to do anything to change the ambient occlusion effect, beyond a few pixels here and there, which I'll just say is from the tiniest of variances in stuff that I can't seem to control. So this shadow update doesn't update the shadows or the ambient occlusion shadows, and it doesn't seem to change how it looks when you're inspecting your loadout either. So what does it do? That's when I had a revelation. Maybe it's changed how the weapons look when you're inspecting other people's loadouts in-game. That would make sense given the other update to the caching of inventory items, and sure enough, it did look different. I still couldn't make out a difference to the shadow definition, but the lighting on the models certainly looked different, even when comparing the same weapons in virtually the same spots on the map. Still seems to be the wrong cube map used, no matter where on the map I compared them, so I'm not even sure that this is the update, nor even if it's an improvement. But that's all I could find. So what was CSGO like in comparison? If I'm honest, I think the shadows in that game were more or less the same in how they looked, but thanks to the darker colours and lower contrast of that older game, its limitations weren't so noticeable. You could still see it on the back of the deagle just here. And now if I switch over to the latest version of Counter-Strike, it goes to show just how flawed and buggy it still is, even after so many updates and even a whole new game engine. Because at the end of the day, Source 2 might be an improvement over the Source 1 engine, but it still uses a bunch of extremely dated techniques to do the lighting and the shadows. The solution would be to use ray tracing, which would solve all these problems, doing away with the pixelation and improving the soft shadowing and the smoothness of the edges, no matter the lighting conditions. Although it's a bit of a heavy-handed solution, and would subject users to a graphically intensive technique, all to fix relatively minor issues with the game. It is, at the end of the day, a competitive game which requires high frame rates, so even with all of Valve's clever trickery and the game's heavy emphasis on custom and pretty looking weapon skins, I don't see them going down this route anytime soon. So all in all, this update has the potential to be good and exciting, but I fail to see any evidence of it in my testing. Valve, please fix.